Well, it's going to be tricky, Isabel, because this Pfizer vaccine has to be kept very cold at minus 70 degrees. And in the very near term, only hospitals actually have that ability to store the material at that temperature. So that's where we think the very first batch is going to be administered next week. The very top priority group of people to receive the vaccine will be the residents and staff of nursing homes, of care homes for older people. So they will have to go to hospital to get it. But in the medium term, there is a plan to transform sports centres, conference centres into vaccination centres where people can go and get their vaccine. And in future, the hope is that it will feel a bit more normal, that you might go just to your local doctor's surgery or to a pharmacy to get the vaccine. If it's the Pfizer one or the Moderna one, they'll have to have cold storage facilities, but that won't be a problem for the other vaccine, the Oxford vaccine, the one that was developed here in the UK. Again, not yet approved, but when it is, thankfully, it doesn't have to be stored at these sub-zero temperatures.
And Tig, this comes as lockdown measures are tentatively being lifted. How's that going?
Yeah, that's right. In England, this was the first day for 4 weeks that you were able to, if you wanted to, go to a non-essential shop, go to a gym, go to get your haircut or to have a beauty treatment. Pubs and restaurants were able to open again, although in a limited way and only in the lesser affected parts of the country. They're still closed in so-called Tier 3 areas, and actually that covers up to 40% of the population, so quite a big area. For example, this morning I saw queues outside of gyms. There were queues outside of big shops from people who wanted to get out there and do some Christmas shopping. But it's interesting, the people who actually count footfall on Britain's shopping streets said that, yes, obviously it was an awful lot busier than it was this time last week, up to 2/3 busier, but actually up to a quarter less busy than it would have been on the same day last year. So that suggests that people are still being cautious about going out. They're not desperate to go out and do real world shopping after 4 weeks of closures and just over 3 weeks away from Christmas. Isabel?
OK, an element of caution there. Well, many thanks, Tig. The European Medicines Agency, which is in charge of giving the go-ahead for COVID-19 vaccines in the EU, has criticised the UK's approval process, calling it hasty. The EU regulator says it would decide whether or not to approve Pfizer's vaccine by December the 29th. Well, for on this, let's speak to our political editor, Darren McCaffrey, who is in Brussels. Hello there to you, Darren. So it's interesting, isn't it? Because the UK still has to abide by EU law. So how did it manage to approve this vaccine when EU regulators have set a date for the end of December?
Because, Isabel, under EU law, they were simply allowed to. In fact, to get this right, I'll quote it. It is Article 5.2 of the EU Medicines Directive 2001/83, and it says that member states may temporarily authorise the distribution of an unauthorised medicinal product if it is in response to a suspected or confirmed spread, essentially, of a virus. And so, essentially, the UK used that rule. It must be said Hungary has used exactly the same rule in authorising the Russian vaccine to be used in that country in the weeks to come. And there have been suggestions that, maybe other EU member states may well follow suit, disregarding the fact that EMA, the European Medicines Agency, has suggested that authorisation will not come until later on this month, until at least December 29th. However, we have heard from some member states, most notably Germany, saying that they would not do that. They would wait for EMA's decision because of European solidarity. In the end, though, that decision itself may put people's lives at a risk. There is a feeling that by vaccinating as soon as possible, clearly, you may well, in fact, save thousands of lives because people will be immunised sooner. But the EMA have hit back, as you say, accusing the UK of being hasty, of suggesting that they have got a more rigorous process, that their evidence and decision is based on more statistical data that they have to gather. But I must say, in the end, there's no suggestion that the UK process is not being rigorous, that they have somehow made a mistake. And I think there are a few frustrated people around different parts of Europe who would rather this process started sooner rather than later, and think that a decision at the end of this month is leaving things a little too long.